Okay, so I have my watercolor paper and my pencil. Again, you could totally just use plain white paper for this. And it can be adjusted to use markers or crayons or coloring pencils, anything you want. So first thing we need to do is we're gonna basically cut our paper in half with our pencil. If you want to, you could probably use your little hands and kind of put it at the bottom of the paper, and wherever it ends would probably be right. Because I have a bigger hand, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna just draw a nice straight line right across my paper. Again, almost halfway up, but not quite, okay? So the first shape we're gonna do, or the first veggie we're gonna do, excuse me, is going to be a beet. Now, I want you to use a very, very, very light hand for this, and I'm gonna show you the best way to make that beet shape, okay? So I'm gonna make a circle. Look at me, I'm really barely drawing. Can you see that? Circle, super, super, super light, okay? But once I have that circle, that's kind of the basis of the shape of my beet. And it's a lot easier to go off of that and kind of connect than it is to get that shape right the first time. Even those of us that are pretty good artists, it still is a little bit easier to make that circle. So now you see what I've done? I've just kind of connected my circle up at the top, right here, kept my little circle line, and then I brought it down to a little triangle shape at the bottom. Do you guys see that? I'm gonna show you again on a white piece of paper, just to make sure that everybody can see what I'm doing there. So I will push just a little bit harder. So what we did again is we had our line, right? And we made our circle. Again, look at that. My circle's not perfect, right? But we're gonna make a little triangle at the top and a little bigger triangle at the bottom, just like that. And then when I connect, I'm gonna do it in marker so that you can see. I just follow my line like that together. Do you see that? If I had tried to freehand that, it would not have turned out as well. Okay, so we've got those. I'm gonna go back to my watercolor paper. And down at the bottom, I'm just gonna add a couple little root lines, little curvy lines like that. All right, next we need to give this one some leaves up top of the ground, okay? So the first one we are going to do, again, a light hand. Don't push hard, boys and girls. We're gonna do kind of a wider traditional leaf shape. So just a curved line and a curved line. Then we're gonna do another one going the other way. Curved line, curved line. Not perfect. Don't get stuck with them being perfectly symmetrical. And then I'm gonna make one going up, just like that. All right, so next we're gonna do a fun carrot over here. And that is going to be a shape that I'm gonna start with a little arc shape, right? We do that a lot in class, little arc shape. Then I'm gonna bring that arc shape down, getting closer together. Do you guys see that? We're making that carrot shape. It's kind of a skinny carrot. I could probably make it just a little wider. There we go. How about that? Okay, so for our carrot greens, we're gonna just make a few really long lines. So I'm gonna start up at the top. Remember what I always say, it's easier to make a straight line coming towards you than it is to start towards you and make a straight line going away, okay? You have a lot more control when you're bringing it in. So I'm gonna just start about maybe 3 or 4 finger lengths from the top, and I'm just gonna come straight down. That's it. I'm gonna make a shorter one, straight down, maybe a little even taller one, all coming straight down into that point. Do you see that? I'm coming down into a point. There we are. And then on the ends of these, I'm just gonna make some little tiny lines. Some little fluffy stuff at the tops of the carrots, right? Okay, last but not least, we are going to make a little radish, okay? So a radish is really more of like kind of a circle-y shape, So I think you can probably freehand this one okay, because radishes are not symmetrical. So anything that is somewhat in a circular shape, and then radishes have really long, kind of spindly, we'll call it, roots. So I'm gonna just make some little crazy lines coming out. Again, no right or wrong here, just some lines. And then, excuse me, for the greens on this one, we're going to just make really kind of like we did here, but tall and skinny. It's almost like I'm taking the carrot top and the beet top and I'm putting them together. So watch, I'm going to start up tall again, and I'm gonna bring a line down right to the middle of my radish, and then I'm gonna just make a little bit of thickness. Doing it again, okay? I'll show you that one more time. I might even just come from the middle this time. And down. Okay, and then how about one more? I'll come up and down. And there we have the bases of our outline. So next, I am going to use the oil pastels, but you could certainly use crayon. That would work fine. All right, so I am going to start over here on the carrot. And let's see. I really like to start with this orangey red color. Right.
So I'm going to just trace over my pencil line. And remember, boys and girls, that oil pastels are made of oils, so they won't bleed or mix with the watercolor. It's the same with the crayons. The crayons are waxy, so they won't do that. So I have my outline. I'm now just going to put in some little tiny lines to give a little detail to my carrot. Just some little kind of lines just like that. All right. Then I'm going to move on to my beet. And just for color's sake, even though beets come in lots of different colors, I'm going to go traditional on this one. And I'm going to use my nice purple. And again, doing the same thing. Just tracing over our line. And tracing over our line. And also going down into those roots, right? I may even at this point go back in and just gently erase my little guidelines. Just while I'm thinking of it. And when you wipe, you have to really be careful not to smear. All right. Last but not least, I'm going to do this one. Radishes, it could be red. You could certainly, or you could even make this an onion. This is kind of the shape of an onion. For it being a radish, I'm going to go ahead and use the red. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just like that. Now, just to get a little fun with it, I'm only going to do the beginning parts of my roots in the red because they really turn white towards the bottom, and I just think that would kind of make it look a little more interesting. I don't have a white pastel, which is okay, and I didn't grab myself out a crayon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the super light pinky color, peachy pinky. And look at this, watch this. When I go over it, I start it like that, and it just connects. But if I want them to blend a little, I can just go slightly over my red, just a little bit. Okay, so we've got all of the veggies done on the bottom. Now we just need to go up to this top. And I'm going to make all of my greens match, but you can certainly mix them up if you have different colors of green. You know, I actually might. I take that back. I'm going to make one of them a little different, perhaps. All right, so I'm going to start with the carrots. And again, same thing we've been doing, just tracing. Again, I'm tracing towards myself to try and get that nice control. And then again, just making little fluffy tops, right? Because carrots have super fluffy, pretty tops. You know, sometimes when I buy carrots with the tops still on, I cut the tops off and I put them in a vase or in a vase because they're just really pretty. Okay, so I've got that one. And you know what? I know I said I was going to do them the same, but I take that back, and I'm going to do them slightly different. So this time I'm going to take a darker green, and I'm going to go to my radish or onion or whatever you decide you want it to be. They're very similar in shape. And tracing. Okay, so I've got those two. And then how about for my beet, I'm going to use this kind of khaki green, kind of an army green color. Again, you could do these all the same green color. You can mix them up. You're allowed to be a little creative here. Okay, so there we are. Last thing I'm going to do is take my brown and make our dirt line right here. All right, looking good so far, I would say. So now I'm going to put away my oil pastels. And it is time to... So for the painting, I have the kind of pointed tip brush. Again, use whatever you have. There is really no right or wrong here. I'm going to get my brush wet. And I am going to start on the lighter colors. I like to do the veggies first and then go to my background. So I'm going to start in the orange. Oh, I need a little more water. And as you can see, my palette is well used. So I just have to get into those sides. And then I am ready to fill in with a wash of color. Now I'm going to fill most of this in, but not all of it. I'm gonna put just a little more water. It was a little dry. Then I'm gonna go into my yellow. Why make it all one color? That's boring. I'm gonna go into my yellow and add a little also in there. Okay, so next we're going to do our beet. And I like to do, again, a little mix. So I use a little purple. The purple I feel like is so dark. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load my brush, right? You saw me load my brush. Now I'm just going to dip it into the water. I'm not washing it all the way off. And then I'll just drag the little tip. That waters it down just a little bit. Ooh, watered it down a lot, didn't it? Okay, see? None of us are perfect. Put a little more on there. There we go. But again, I don't want it to just all be one color. So I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to put it in the red and come in with a little red color as well. There we go. We don't want it to be the same all the way through. Ooh, look at that. That's more what I want. That's looking cool. And then, last but not least, we will do our radish with some red. Again, I don't want the same color all the way from side to side, so I just come back in and put a little dotting, a little stippling in there like that, right? Okay, now for our leaves. Now, I only have one green in my palette, so I'm just going to try and use either more water or less water to kind of change the color just a little bit. So I've got my first round here of color, and I really like that. I think that's a nice color combo with that khaki green. Right, so now I'm gonna come back in. I didn't wet my brush again, so this time it will be just a little brighter, a little more color on there. And I'm gonna go for my darker ones. Do you see how it's very similar to that, but it's just a little bit lighter because we had much more water on our brush for that one. Okay, and I'm kind of going over my line just a little bit. It's okay if you even go over your line a little bit. Just a little bit more water because I'm getting a dry brush. And last little one here. Again, all my strokes are in the direction of my lines, right? I'm not going back and forth across them. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to just put a little line of color right over these. And you know what? I'm going to turn my paper, how about this way? I like rotating my canvas. It makes it easier for me, especially something like this. So I'm just gonna go right over my line. And really all that does is it's just gonna fill in the little white holes that your oil pastel or crayon did not fill in. Again, I'm not trying to make it perfect. Not trying to make all of our detail go away, just trying to soften it a little. And I might even just add some more little flicks up at the top. Okay? And we are there. All right, so now we need to add our dirt. And again, there is no right or wrong here. We're just getting some brown underneath our line. And you'll see I'm being pretty quick and liberal about this. I don't want a perfect wash of brown all the way left to right. Now watch, remember, can you hear that? We're starting to hear my brush, so that means I need more water, right guys? If you start to hear that from the brush, you know it is not wet enough. Okay. And you know what else? I'll show you another cool trick that you can do. Get a lot of water on your brush. I didn't even like wash it off, but get a lot of water on your brush and add some water to your paper because I've got some nice dark brown over here, but I want some lighter brown spots too. So I'm just going to add water. This is just plain water. And then watch what happens when I add the stuff to it. Woo! It's like science. It follows our water pattern. Isn't that cool? And it will give a very, very, very cool texture and the way it kind of almost marbleizes, right? And then you can just kind of move it around because all that color is just sitting on top of that water that we added. So it's just waiting for us to tell it where to go. Now, I do want these roots that I made over here to stick out. and really stand out. So I'm gonna make just a little darker in through here, hoping that I don't cover them up too much. But I want some contrast. I just love watercolors. I hope you guys enjoy them as well. Okay. And again, if I was really going the extra step, I probably could have used a bigger brush for this, but it's okay. All right. I'd say we're about there. Maybe just, since I have a nice dark spot over here, I'm going to maybe make a nice dark spot down here. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it away, right? So I just keep adding more and more, maybe even in that little kind of corner too. Again, I'm not overworking one spot, right? I'm not going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Because the more I work that paper, the more it's going to ball up on me. And that's not very pretty. Okay, I think just a tiny little bit right in here. Oh yeah, or a little more than a tiny bit. Right? Just working it in. Okay. Perfect. I'm happy with that. Now, again, like I always say, I really like to rotate my canvases. I'm going to wipe off some of my little excess so I don't smudge it. Turn it around. Wash, 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 wash. And I am going to do, on this side, I'm going to do the whole thing practically with a little wash of water first because I want this to be super light sky. So again, adding some water. Not, you know, we're not soaking the page, but water is going to at least go over most of it. Okay, so now we've got our water on our paper. I'm going to wet my brush, go in with my blue. I'm going to wet it again. Remember, I don't want a ton of color. I can always add more, but I cannot take that color off my page. Well, you guys know I do teach you some tricks sometimes as to how to do that, but it's very difficult. It's always better to just start with less and add. Oh, starting to hear my paintbrush, huh? Okay. Again, starting to get all down in there. Just going in between our little leaves. More water, more paint. Woo, there we go. That's what I wanted. It's starting to come together. A little more water. Ooh, a little bit too much there. Okay. Starting to smear that just a little bit, so I got to keep my hand a little lighter. Okay. And almost there, you guys. Almost there. All right, let's turn this guy around and see how our final project looks. So cute. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Cannot wait to see them.